No one signed the sheet to talk.
We'll call the September meeting of the Bella Vista City Council to order, and we will stand for, we'll have the pledge first, and then we'll have the invocation by Reverend Paul Seal. So first, the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's bow together. Heavenly Father, for this time together, we thank you. We thank you for the leadership, elected leadership, non-elected leadership. We thank you for the citizens who are here to help lead in the way of deciding what needs to be done for our city. We thank you that you call us to be servants. You ask us to lead with our hearts and use our heads as well. Be with us tonight as we share in these moments, that together we proudly proclaim that we have been called of you to serve one another. We ask it in the strong and precious name of Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Roll call.
Alderman Morgan? Here. Alderman Snow?
Here.
Alderman Wozniak?
Here.
Alderman Rooney?
Here.
Alderman King?
Here.
Alderman Wilson?
Here.
We have a quorum present.
Next item of business is citizen input. We try to set aside at least 30 minutes every meeting for those folks who would like to talk to the city council about anything to do with city government. Ask you to please keep your comments to about 3 minutes if you can, to give everybody a chance that wants to talk. First name that signed up is Jennifer Bonner. No. Okay, I was wondering about that. So I don't have any other names signed up. I'm not sure if anybody didn't get signed up that would like to talk to us. Come right on up, and if you'd speak into that microphone, that will help the people that are on TV. It won't help the sound in here, but it is going out to the local TV station. So if you could talk right into that microphone, we would appreciate it.
My name is Andrea Conway, and I'm new to Bella Vista. I moved here in January. And I bought a house in the Quantock Hills subdivision. A lot of my neighbors are here, and what we'd like to discuss is the property behind Ashton Lane, or Ashton Circle. It was proposed at a meeting a couple of weeks ago that the zoning be changed to a C2. And it was turned down, so I understand it's going to be not recommended. But I wanted to, and as my neighbors do, want to make sure that that sticks, because a C2 rating or zone change would allow things like a bar, an animal clinic, a restaurant, a liquor store. And the Ashton Lane Circle, you can already hear the noise from 279, which makes it difficult to sell your home. And when you do, you have to lower the price, which affects all of us in the Quantock Hills. There's also a curve right by this proposed property. I don't know the exact address, but I'm assuming you know what I'm speaking
Right.
of. And so it creates a hazard. Most of our neighbors are 70 and older, and responses aren't as fast, and you have that curve and you have more traffic. I think that it's going to cause more accidents. You also have pollution of noise, the smell of a restaurant. You have, dogs, or you have commercial deliveries and, things like that. I don't think any of you would like to have something like this behind your house. But what was just mentioned to me, the person that lives there now that is trying to sell her house, there is no common area between her house and this 2.5 acre property. So whatever goes in there is going to butt up right against her property. She's already had a few incidences with broken windows from the kids. There's, a trailer parked right up against her property. It's just something that all of us, and I'm speaking for the Quantock Hills neighbors, that we really don't want to see, because we really feel that it's going to affect all of us in one way or another, not to mention the traffic on 279. I don't know if you have read this, what's permitted in a certain zoning. And even if the deal doesn't go through that's proposed, this drive-through restaurant or car wash, you still have other possibilities that are even worse. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that didn't get to sign up that would like to talk to the city council about any subject? Cal, up to the microphone, please.
I'm Cal Florin, and I live on Quantock Hills Drive and Quantock Hills Lane. And we exit going either north or south or west, off the drive very often, right near this area. And that exit is a terrible exit. And I have my birthday tomorrow, and I wouldn't be having it if I hadn't been lucky a few times on being able to see the last second traffic coming around the blind curve on the left or the hill on the right. And this property we're talking about is right there over that hill, and that hill would be a bother for people coming the other way. And I'm certainly not against getting tax-producing businesses, but I think maybe we could promote to get business that still fits our current standing, our ratings, rather than change the rating so that we get a more active, traffic, noisy place. And I would like to know if there would be any other, if the council would allow any other streets coming in from Quantock Hills Drive or the Ashton Circle to this property. They might want to make driveways out that way, and that would even complicate it more. Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll move on down the agenda. Next item of business is the approval of minutes from our August 25th regular meeting. You've had that in your packet. Comments, questions?
Move to be approved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We approve the minutes as presented. All in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you. Down to reports, mayor's report. The only thing I would like to mention one more time, we're still moving ahead with the fire department, getting it built there on 279 south of the 340 entrance. We're also looking and getting some preliminary planning done on the street department, which is south on 340. We will bring something probably to the council during the October work session and minutes to get you more involved in what the actual cost is going to look like. I'm hoping we'll have the preliminary plans done by that point in time. Any questions concerning those two pieces of property?
I had a call today from a person who was wondering if he had a site plan yet for the street department.
No, that's what we'll have to bring to you, the site plan. We won't approve a site plan because that'll be more money. That all we're looking for right now is the preliminary, very preliminary design. How it would fit on the property, what kind of simple grading we'll have to do for the property, especially the property for the street department, because that involves more than one structure, involves some lay down area for storing materials, involves a bigger area that we need to get just some preliminary planning done on and say, hey, it fits this way. This is how much of the property we're going to use. Then we'll go to you folks, the council, to get the okay to go ahead and get the site plans actually drawn, the specifications drawn up, get ready for the bids to go out to begin doing something with the property. So hopefully we'll begin that process in October.
The gentleman who called me, I think he sent everyone an email on the conference. He was concerned about the removal of the trees. I explained to him I had no idea what they're gonna do. That well, that's the way the plan's been up to.
Is that the one that was concerned about the trees behind it? Right now, we're not looking to develop that corner of our property at all. So we should not affect any trees behind his property. We're further over toward the property that's bounded by the farm right behind our property. So it's the south end of the property that we're looking at, closer to the power line. That's the one we're probably going to plan on as long as we can get everything we want in that property. At the beginning, it begins to look like we can do that. Hopefully we'll know in 2 or 3 weeks. Any other questions, comments about that property or those two structures? Moving on to the monthly financial report. You've all had that in your packet for about a week. Comments, questions, discussion concerning the financial reports for August?
Move to be approved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. We approve the monthly financial report for August. All in favor, raise your right hand. Energy Management Committee, anything from you, Mr. Rooney?
No, we met, took part in the Bella Vista A-Day celebration. The attendance, by the way, everyone realizes that A-Day is outstanding. The committee assisted in making residents aware that there is public safety programs offered by the police and fire department. That's about it.
Okay, any questions concerning emergency management? Hopefully all of you got out to see the heydays. I think it came off very well this year. Probably had 3 times the attendance that we had the first year. So it's building up. The safety days and all of that was a big part of it. So kudos to everybody that had anything to do with that. I'll entertain a motion to suspend the rules for the rest of the evening concerning reading of proposed ordinances and resolutions, and request a motion to read by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we suspend the rules and read resolutions and ordinances by title only this evening. Any discussion on that motion? Roll call vote.
Alderman Morgan?
Yes.
Alderman Snow?
Yes.
Alderman Wozniak?
Yes.
Alderman Rooney?
Yes.
Alderman King?
Yes.
Alderman Wilson?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously 6-0.
The first item of business under unfinished business is item number A, and this will be the third reading, and I'll read the ordinance by title only. Adopting by reference the Arkansas Fire Prevention Code 2012 edition and supplemental provisions thereto, and for other purposes, third reading. Comments, questions, discussion concerning that ordinance?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. We approve the ordinance at the end of its third reading. Any further discussion? One last chance. Comments? Roll call vote to approve the ordinance.
Alderman Snow?
Yes.
Alderman Wozniak?
Yes.
Alderman Rooney?
Yes.
Alderman King?
Yes.
Alderman Wilson?
Yes.
Alderman Morgan?
Mr. Sunnison, I'm happy to vote yes.
Motion carries unanimously 6-0.
Unfinished business item number 2 is an ordinance I'll read by title only, and it's also the third reading of this ordinance. Establishing a policy for a drug-free workplace. Questions, comments, discussion concerning that ordinance?
Move to adopt it.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. We approve that ordinance at the end of its third reading. Any further questions? One last chance. Roll call vote on approving the ordinance establishing a drug-free workplace.
Alderman Wozniak?
Yes.
Alderman Rooney?
Yes.
Alderman King?
Yes.
Alderman Wilson?
Yes.
Alderman Morgan?
Yes.
Alderman Snow?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimous, 6-0.
Item number C under unfinished business is another ordinance. It's third reading. I will read that ordinance by title only. Adopting by reference zoning code amendments for procedures relating to planning commission initiated amendments to the zoning code and for other purposes. Again, it's the third reading. Comments, questions, discussion? Entertain a motion?
So moved.
Second. Been moved and seconded. We approve that ordinance at the end of its third reading. Any further discussion? One last chance. Roll call vote to approve the ordinance adopting the zoning code.
Alderman Rooney?
Yes.
Alderman King?
Yes.
Alderman Wilson?
Yes.
Alderman Morgan?
Yes.
Alderman Snow?
Yes.
Alderman Wozniak?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimous, 6-0.
Fourth item under unfinished business is another ordinance. This one is in its second reading this evening. I'll read it by title only. Providing penalties for damage and for failure to return books and other materials belonging to the Bella Vista Public Library, providing for the adoption of administrative policies and fees for the library and for other purposes. Again, second reading. Comments, questions, discussion? Hearing and seeing none, we will move that to the October meeting for third reading. Moving on to new business. Item number A under new business. And again, it's an ordinance, first reading, and I will read it by title only. Amending the City of Bella Vista zoning ordinances and map by rezoning certain lands commonly known as 1265 Forest Hills Boulevard, parcel number 16-70211-001, from C1, which is called neighborhood commercial, to C2, which is called light commercial, and for other purposes. This is, again, is the first reading for this particular ordinance. Comments, questions, discussion concerning that ordinance?
Mayor, since this was not a definitive vote by the Planning Commission, I'd like to make a motion that it be returned to the Planning Commission for reconsideration.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded. We return to the Planning Commission, and by definitive vote, you mean the fact that one member was absent?
It was a tie vote. Yes, sir.
That's a procedurally permissible action.
I'm
but-
sure it's permissible, yeah. So that motion is on the floor. Comments, questions, discuss concerning that motion? We're hoping that we'll have everybody there next time,
Or they may change their minds.
or it may come back another tie.
I could, or I could come back another time.
Everyone recognizes that that's just a recommendation coming from that commission, right? That's not a bind, they don't make the decision on this type of action. The decision-making is here, at this table.
And we are.
That's strictly a recommendation coming from that commission.
If the residents of that area did not have sufficient time to respond to that action, then that would give them more time to do so. If everyone feels that all the residents in that area have expressed their feelings one way or the other, then by all means, I don't vote for my motion.
Any other comments, questions,
Yeah,
discussion, just concerning the motion that's on the floor?
Oh,
Richard,
no, I have nothing to say about the motion on the floor.
the motion right now on the floor is to send it back to the planning commission for another recommended vote.
Well, you know, if we don't fast-track it, there's still 60 days to do something about it. Because you got to read it 3 times. So if the planning commission would come back the same way, we'd be right here in 30 days. If your concern is that they don't have enough time to discuss it amongst themselves and maybe come back with other arguments, they still got 60 days to do that. And we can go You know, we can knock it out at any time during that 60 days.
Just my opinion, Mr. Wozniak, just my opinion.
You're
As I said,
entitled.
everybody can vote their conviction however they feel.
Let me ask one point of order. If it goes back to the planning commission under this recommendation, when it comes back up, either way, recommended for or against, it goes back to first reading?
Yes,
Here?
this is going to table what you've got
Okay,
before you.
just want to
send it
make sure
back.
that.
Well, I don't not believe that it should go back to the rezoning for the planning commission. I think that had we have our long-term plan up to date, we did it 7 years ago when we first incorporated into the city shortly afterwards. I do believe that the staff and the planning commission would have most probably approved that. So I don't know if we should send it back there. We have to make up a decision, make up our mind in the end anyway.
I might ask, is there a reason why it should be move along at any fast track, or is a delay by going back to the planning commission for the vote, is that going to delay anything or cause any problems with any other issue?
I think if we let it go for 3 readings on the ordinance, that's not exactly a fast track. And the fact that the planning commission was divided 3-3 is probably not going to change. And the owners have been dealing with the planning commission for 3 months. And even if the planning commission were to change their mind and vote 4-2 or 5-1 against it, it still comes to us for the final decision.
Once again, after 6 years on the city council, I do not recall any rezoning request that somebody didn't oppose it. It was
Very true,
the
Mr.
way it
Ray.
is.
Very true.
Any other comments, questions concerning the motion? The motion is to return to the planning commission for a second look. Seeing none, we'll roll call vote.
If
Yes.
I want to understand correctly, that when the zoning commission voted on this, it resulted in a tie, which was an automatic no. It was a default no.
No,
That's how it read.
well, you can consider it that, yeah. You can consider that they didn't pass it, but it's only a recommendation.
Oh,
So
sure.
it-
I realize that.
So they're not passing anything officially anyway, other than a recommendation. So the recommendation is, half of the committee said they thought it was a good idea, half of the committee says it's not a good idea. That's what you got from that vote. It's not an up or down vote from them. It comes to us no matter what the vote
I
is.
realize that.
Okay.
But I think because there was a default no on it, and it was a tie vote, that it might not be a bad idea for them to reconsider it.
If
At least get a definitive vote.
I understand. I have no problem with that.
if I may ask a question,
Sure.
a question, would a question of an audience member be permissible?
No.
Okay.
Any other comments, questions, discussion up here? Roll call vote on the motion to return to the planning commission this particular issue. It won't be this ordinance, it'll be an issue that they'll have to take a look at, an event. Okay? Everybody understands what we're voting on? Roll call vote.
Alderman King,
I vote yes.
Alderman Wilson,
Yes.
Alderman Morgan,
No.
Alderman Snow,
Yes.
Alderman Wozniak,
No.
Alderman Rooney.
No.
Mayor, you can choose to vote if you desire.
So, Mr. Mayor, we're right back where we.
No, we're not. I don't choose to vote, so it's a no. So now we're back to the ordinance. First reading of the ordinance. Any comments, questions, discussion concerning the first reading? Anything that needs to be done to the ordinance? Any other information that anybody needs to make up their mind about the ordinance? This is only the first reading of the ordinance. Hearing and
I would like to
Yes.
comment, I think that we, the city officials, elected officials, gonna have to look forward to somewhere developing some more commercial property for our citizens, or in the future, they're gonna see some significant tax increases to support our city needs. That's our problem. We have very limited amount of commercial property available to us. Not much ideal property at all.
Any other comments, discussion? Jerry?
I agree with Mr. Rooney 100%, that we need all the commercial property that we can identify or rezone for commercial development. It needs to happen, but I also feel that we represent the people, and these people who have been here tonight have spoken their opposition to it. And my only purpose was, if they did not have sufficient opportunity to appear before the Planning Commission to express their opinions, that give them the opportunity to do so.
Any other comments, questions concerning the ordinance? Any other information anybody needs?
Well, I understand this is already zoned commercial.
It is zone C1 right now. The recommendation under the ordinance is to change it to C2.
Correct.
I would hope all of you have looked at the two lists that are in our zoning book and see the difference between C1 and C2. You heard some of them read to you this evening. So I would certainly hope you all look at it for second and third reading. Any other comments, questions about this one?
I have a question.
Yes.
If the, obviously now we've decided to send this back to the planning commission.
No,
No,
it's
we
not
haven't.
going to the planning commission.
Ah,
We're finishing the third
Sorry.
reading now, and
Thank
I'm
you.
looking for any other comments, questions?
First reading.
Or first reading, I'm sorry. So we're looking for any other comments, questions concerning first reading? Any other information you need?
I would like to make a comment that restaurants are already allowed at the C1 zoning level.
Okay, anything else anybody wants to say about that particular ordinance?
This, I guess this is a question for Chris, wherever Chris is.
He's right here.
The C1 and C2, one provides for a restaurant, the other specifies the difference between that and a drive-in restaurant. What's the difference? Why the division?
I can't speak directly to that. That is the illustrated difference in your zoning code, though, Alderman. Perhaps the reasoning, and I'm only speculating, is that the C2 is a higher intensity of use. As you move up in numbers in the zoning code, they become more dense or more intense depending on the intensity or the scale that we're looking at. So perhaps when the code was written, those responsible for putting the table of uses together thought that there was more traffic that would go through a drive-through restaurant, but that's only speculation.
Okay, I was just curious why there was a definitive difference between those two. Okay.
Any other comments, questions, discussion? Seeing none, it will move forward for second reading at the October City Council meeting. Item number B is an ordinance I will read by title only. Prohibiting the discharge of contaminants into the stormwater drainage system and for other purposes. This is the first reading of this ordinance. Comments, questions, discussion?
Mayor, I wanted to bring up one point during the work session. The issue came up about the section toward the end on potential fines, and I'm talking about section 4, subsection F. And just because of circumstances, I've yet to been able to get to find a definitive answer that satisfies me on that. So I would just request the council not expedite this, and that if there needs to be a change, I'll present it for your next reading.
Everybody remembers we discussed that at the work session. Everybody, except Larry and I. And we will get an answer for that one before the next work session in October as to whether those fines can be at the level that we show them in this particular reading, or even if they're needed in this particular ordinance. So that's the one thing we'll get more information on at the next work session. Any other comments, questions concerning that particular first reading of that ordinance. Any other information you need to make a determination on that particular ordinance? Seeing and hearing none, we'll move on and move that to second reading in the October City Council meeting. Item number C under new business is a resolution. And I'll read the I'm sorry, C is an ordinance, and I'll read that ordinance by title only. Supplementing the current effective National Electrical Code and electrical permit requirements and for other purposes. This is the first reading for this particular ordinance also, although it doesn't say that there, but it is the first reading.
Mayor, a similar story on this. We talked at the work session. The requirement in Section 3 about the permission for inspections every 3 years, I just need to get satisfied on that from a constitutional perspective. I think I know what was intended here, but again, I would ask that this not be expedited, and that I might have a few extra words to add to that next reading, if that'd be okay with y'all.
And everybody understands this particular ordinance is to try to come up with a way to make sure that those kinds, or those electrical hookups, connections, electrical provisions down near lake shores, especially on docks, are safe. We have some indications that we've had some leakage into the lakes of electrical power.
I have a question.
Yes.
There's already a state statute that deals with this matter. I guess I still have a problem understanding why we have a need for an ordinance to improve it or increase it with the state statute. I mean, one of the questions I asked at the work session was if anyone knew if someone throws a 110-volt line, live line out into the lake near a boat dock, how far does that danger zone extend? Not that we want any live lines in the lake, however far it extends, but I mean, from a danger standpoint, does it cover half the lake or the middle of the lake, or does it just go out so many feet before it dissipates?
We'll get you an answer to that.
I would like to comment that I've talked to several dock owners on lakes, and they said they would welcome an inspection, that to their knowledge all of their electrical is in place and safe. But if it isn't, and they can get the city to inspect it at no charge, they would welcome that.
And that's the primary reason for the ordinance, is to be able to give the city some, it's a little more difficult to enforce a state statute when it doesn't say how to enforce it or anything about it. Yes, the requirement is there, but how do we enforce it? This ordinance gives us those rules, or that way to enforce it. Every 3 years, those kind of things. So that's the need for the ordinance.
Not being personally acquainted with any dock owners, I will defer to Ms. Morgan's opinion.
But we'll get you an answer as to how far. Any other questions? Any other comments about that particular ordinance? Any other need for information in order to make up your mind about it when it comes to that point in time?
Is there a charge for the permit to do this?
Is there a charge for MIT to put it in,
No,
or
permit
to
says-
come
and
inspect it?
You know, electrical permit requirements.
There is a charge for the electrical permit when it's first put in, yes.
Okay, that's the original one.
Yes, that's
There's
the
no charge
original,
for the
put it in there.
inspection.
There's no charge for the inspection.
That's just handled by.
As of right now, that's the thing we can talk about. So that's what you need to be thinking about. What is it you want to do with this particular ordinance?
I think the no-charge inspection, it makes it very appealing and accessible to the city.
And if I understand correctly, the POA is very limited on what they can do on this.
The POA
Even though they own the
jurisdiction stops at the end of the water, and the city jurisdiction starts land. So since the docks are the electric is basically on the
they're
land, it
extension.
puts it under city jurisdiction.
Okay. I think if I were a dock owner, I'd want somebody to make sure everything's safe for my family.
so we make sure we understand the situation with the lake. Of course, lake levels rise and fall, so the water level rises and falls and comes closer and moves down. Those lakes are parceled. They're a parcel. There's a back line. Those homes that are on the lake, they have a back property line that backs onto POA common property, which is underwater because it's the lake. So if the dock extends into the water, potentially the dock is actually in the POA common property. And that could have been done with permission of the POA, obviously, to be able to make those construction improvements because they are adjacent to the lake. That's part of what I want to look into. If what we're looking at inspecting is actually technically in POA property, they could give us consent. If it's not, then the property owner might have to give us consent, or to what extent we can mandate the inspection without any consent. And that's a constitutional consideration, because there are privacy and constitutional interests on searches when you come to, even when it comes to things like safety inspections. So it's a lesser limit, but it is a limit. So I just need to vet that thoroughly so we don't trip up and do something. Safety inspections are very typical of a city to do as far as things like this. Think about a health inspection at a restaurant or something like that. So these are the types of things that we can do. We just have to do it the right way. So I just want to make sure we've got it done the right way.
I would hope that the electrical installations would be above the lake level line.
You got submersible pumps and things like that, though, that are out there.
That's right. It's not only docks. Everybody thinks of only docks, but there's a lot of electricity down at the lakefronts on houses that don't have docks. Mine's an example. I do not have a dock, but I do have electricity down at the water edge.
We'll come inspect it for you.
Have at it. Have at it.
We'll let you toss that 110 line in.
Yeah. Any other comments, questions, any other needs, any other information you need? Okay, hearing none, we'll move that on to October for the second reading. Item number D, and it's a resolution I will read by title only. Authorizing the mayor and city clerk to enter into a cost-share agreement with the Bella Vista Townhouse Association for drainage improvements along Dogwood Drive, Annette Lane, and Tiffany Lane. As I told you during the work session, that's an area that we've had extensive washout, extensive damage done to property, both street property, which belongs to the city, and private property, which belongs to owners in the Townhouse Association area. We've come to the point where we've washed the entire heating, air conditioning unit a couple blocks down the street. We've done several different things. It's a disaster hill from the standpoint that the slope must be about, it's got to be at least 2 to 1. I mean, it's a terrible slope. You can't hardly walk up and down the hill. So what we're talking about and what we had engineered, where the Townhouse Association and the city shared the cost of that engineering, was to have an engineer tell us what the design was to fix that once and for all, because we've been fixing it now for 22, 23 years, and it lasts about till the next big rain. So we would like to fix it once and for all and not have to fix it every time. We had the engineering firm come in, design it for us, talk to us about it. We reached an agreement as to how much of the property, or how much that has to be done, is on city property. And there's quite a bit, because there's a pretty good sized cement flume that has to be built up on the top level of Dogwood, where the water really gets generated, so that we can get it controlled and get it to a place where it will run where we want it to run, going down the hill. The Townhouse Association will then take care of all of the trenching and all of the culverts and the things, getting it down the hill to the next street, which is Annette Lane. And there the city will have to take over and do some more cement work and some more culvert work to take care of it once it gets to Annette Lane, to make sure that it gets over to Tiffany Lane, runs down some kind of culvert system at Tiffany Lane into the creek behind the golf course. So there's an awful lot of work to do down there to get that done. The original engineer estimate was $145,000. We were going to split it 42-57%. Basically, there's I think a fraction there, 42-25 to 57-75. But that's the split for the work. The bid came in just a little higher. The first bid we opened was $425,000. Luckily, we had 4 more bids, and they went down every time that we opened one. But we didn't get down to 145. We got down to 193. So what you see in this resolution is a request for your approval for us to enter into a contract with the Bella Vista Townhouse Association to split that. The next resolution that we'll talk about then is the approval for us to enter in, that the city to enter into an agreement with the contractor to go ahead and do the work. The work was not budgeted because we did not think we would get this far. All of this will not be paid probably this year. We won't get all of this work done this year. So I can't even tell you exactly what hit this year's budget will take. What I'm asking to do is to use whatever leftover monies we have anywhere in the street department to take care of how much we have to spend this year. If there's not enough money in the street department, then to take whatever little bit we have to out of the reserve to pay for this particular project this year. We will then budget whatever is left over for next year in next year's budget in order to complete the project. Comments, questions, discussion concerning that issue? Basically takes on both of these resolutions. The first one is the agreement with the Townhouse Association to share the cost. The second one is for us to go ahead and sign the contract with the construction outfit.
How did we come up with the split of 57.75%?
Basically, the
versus
cost of the
42
items in the areas that belong to the city versus the cost in the items that are going to be put on the area owned by the Townhouse Association.
Okay, thank you.
In other words, all the cement that goes up on Dogwood Drive, that's a street. They're putting that in the street right away. All the cement that's going down on Tiffany, all the cement that's going down on Annette Lane, those are all in street right-of-ways. All the piping and all of the clean-out traps, all of the collection points on that hill, whether they're cement or plastic or whatever they are, that's on Townhouse Association property. There will be a lot of dirt work where they have to move dirt and they have to build up some banks, if you will, to slow the water down and to collect it, to have some place to put the cement piping and the culverts up on that property. That will all be on Townhouse property. So we tried to divide it by where the items were going to go, where the work was going to go to whose property.
It's been overdue for some time. I make a motion to be approved.
Second.
So we have a motion to approve the resolution to allow us to enter into contract with the Townhouse Association. Any further comments, questions concerning that resolution? Roll call vote.
Alderman King,
Yes.
Alderman Wilson,
Yes.
Alderman Morgan,
Yes.
Alderman Snow,
Yes.
Alderman Wozniak,
Yes.
Alderman Rooney.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Moving on to the next item of business, which I've already referred to. It's item E under new business, and it's the resolution, and I will read it by title only. Authorizing the mayor and city clerk to enter into a contract with NEC Incorporated for drainage improvements along Dogwood Drive, Annette Lane, and Tiffany Lane, referred to as the Townhouse Association Drainage Project. Again, that's the actual contract with the company that's going to pour the cement.
Move that it be approved.
Second.
Any further discussion on that particular resolution?
I'm just taking it that each party will be responsible for the maintenance of their own parts.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other comments, questions? Roll call vote on that resolution.
Alderman Wilson,
Yes.
Alderman Morgan.
Yes.
Alderman Snow.
Yes.
Alderman Wozniak.
Yes.
Alderman Rooney.
Yes.
Alderman King.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously, 6-0.
Item number F under new business is a resolution I'll read by title only. Reappointing members to the Board of Zoning Adjustments to fill expiring terms. What did we send them? They have the... So what you have in front of you is the list of the people and when their term would expire. Comments, questions, discussion concerning that resolution?
We've had that many defections that we got to fill 4 spots?
Reappointments.
Okay.
Their time runs out, just like mine.
Okay.
Any other comments, questions concerning that resolution? Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. We approve the resolution reappointing members as proposed. One last chance for comments. Roll call vote.
Alderman Morgan.
Yes.
Alderman Snow.
Yes.
Alderman Wozniak.
Yes.
Alderman Rooney.
Yes.
Alderman King.
Yes.
Alderman Wilson.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimous, 6-0.
Got to the best part of the meeting, meetings and announcements. The Planning Commission work session is scheduled for Wednesday, October 1st, 4 p.m. in the Fire Department Training Room. Regular meeting of the Planning Commission scheduled for Monday, October 13th at 6:30 in the Fire Department Training Room. The next City Council work session planned as of today is Monday, October 20th, 2014 at 5:30 p.m. That will be the work session to do most of our work for the next City Council work session, or City Council meeting in October. I will probably schedule a work session sometime between now and October 4th for the first look at the 2015 budget. And I'll get that word out to you just as quick as I can. The next regular meeting of the City Council is Monday, October 27th at 6:30 p.m. at Highlands Crossing right here. Meeting is adjourned.
Good job.
Okay. Pretty famous. Yeah.